Well, that escalated quickly. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. Episode 5 is here, called the Iliad. If anyone doesn't know about the Iliad, it is a Greek poem about Homer. Essentially, the modern version of what they're doing here at Snowfall is that somebody who's risen to so much power has accumulated wealth, power, fame, and all of a sudden sieges start trying to happen to them and wars start happening, and there's a sort of a concave of outside people who are trying to take that power and fame and stuff away. And so a great deal of this episode deals with an attack on Franklin's family and his entire empire. What's interesting is that this show, for the first 15 minutes, feels like, we're still in the normal Snowfall sort of style of filming and storytelling. And then it goes into something that is akin to The Warriors, where you just have major players just on the run while gangs are they're trying to get from point A to point B, while gangs and other folks are trying to attack them. It is a very fascinating way of storytelling, something that this show's never done before, but it's interesting, at least to say the least, to see these sort of methods of story being merged together. But we start off here with this episode with Franklin and V getting the call from the downtown real estate building saying they're like, "Yo, this offer's yours. We just need the money. Start bringing us the money, and we can make this happen." Franklin's in. He's like, "I got my end, but we got to get Louis and Jerome in." He feels he's got them all. He's like, "I offer this to you. It's a no-brainer. Let's go ahead and do the deal." Franklin and V go to go see Jerome and Louis, and as we all have assumed, they're not feeling it. Franklin feels it's more because of whatever beef is happening between Louis and him. She's like, "No, it ain't got nothing to do with that. This is just business. We don't want to do it. We got our own things that we want to do." And that's sort of how it's always been with this hierarchy this year is that, yes, they all fall under Franklin, and now Franklin falls under Teddy, but Louis and Jerome have sort of been doing their own thing. And in that, that's what they say. They're like, "No, we don't want a part of it." And Franklin gets pissed. Franklin leaves. He doesn't show them that he's pissed, but he's pissed. He even offers them this take a less cut. Like, you only put in 5 mil, and then we'll put in the 15 to kind of cover that part. She still didn't want no parts of that. V was like, "Well, don't freak out too much. We still have enough where we can go all in without them. But let's go a different means. Let's have somebody else talk to them and see if that moves the needle at all." So they invest. We all know they're going to invest in Mama and see if Mama can go talk to them. So what happens is they go to meet Sissy, V, Louis, and Jerome meet up at a restaurant and go have that combo. And she's not really feeling it again. She's like, "I had this conversation already with y'all. Like, the answer is no." And Sissy's trying to break it down even more. Like, y'all built this massive empire, but empires fall. And you guys need to start making stuff legitimate and doing so now because this is going to turn on you and turn on you quickly. And boy, does it. This goes left really quick. Franklin and a new person, not Peaches, because Peaches is sick. We know what's going on with Peaches. Peaches is sick, and they are at a meet with Teddy and Uso. They're about to do their normal switch the cast for the drugs, and then a car pulls up on them and just starts raining bullets and starts shooting. The new guy, the new Peaches 2, P2, shot dead. Don't get to know much about him. Sucks. Barely knew you. And then Teddy gets hit bad. It's a pretty bad shot. He is still firing away. He gets in his car and he pulls off, leaving Uso to sort of fend for himself because Uso was using that car as a shield. And then Frank was like, "Oh, get your ass over here. We need to get behind here," while they're still taking bullets. Teddy veers off in bad shape, going in and out of consciousness. Like, he's in a bad way. Franklin and Franklin finally gets Uso in the car, and then Franklin gets in himself. They're still just getting bullets held in on them left and right. Franklin manages to pull off, crash into the van that's shooting at them, and then pull off, but the car is in a bad way. It's smoking, it's damaged. They got to get off the road because this car's not going to make it, and they need to get off the road quickly before someone starts seeing that the car is smoking and it's a full with bullet holes at this point. It's going to sort of stick out like a sore thumb. So they are going to be seen quickly. So they pull off to the road and they drop the car. They kind of patch Uso up a little bit. It's more like a flesh wound. They wrap it up, and they grab the money that they have, because they had $3 million in cash in 2 bags that they have to kind of make sure that they keep. Some of the money is going to be ruined because it has been shot through as well. But they take the bags and they get on the run. As they get on the run, they are trying to find a place so they can find a phone so they can call and both warn and get sort of a pickup from the rest of their team. So they finally make it to this spot where they're in basically a very strong Hispanic territory. You can see the gang signs on the store. As soon as they walked over them, like, this is not going to go well for them. This is not a spot where Franklin has the power or has the means to sort of know people or be able to get out of this. But Franklin managed to make 2 calls on the phone to page both Jerome and Leon 911 to give them, like, yo, I need help, I need emergency. And it takes a minute because Jerome and Louis are having that combo with Sissy at the same time. This is happening the same moment. And he finally gets the page and goes to the phone. Someone's on the phone. He threatens him, gets him off the phone, finally makes the call, and Frank's like, yo, the drop got ambushed. He's like, are you good? He's like, I'm good. We just need to pick up. And he's like, all right, cool. Tell me where you at. He tells him where he at. But as he tells him where they're at, a car comes up to the restaurant and starts firing on all of them. Another drive-by. So you can tell that now this is a calculated hit of people who know the moves or are at least watching Franklin and them enough to know sort of what's happening. And they get fired on. And it gets dicey. It gets messy really fast. People are all hit. Everybody in that restaurant takes a bullet. It's a lot of people dead, a lot of casualties. A lot of people are dead. None of the family is hit, which is probably one of the better things here. Does raise a red flag, which I'll mention later, but it's one of the better things. No one is actually hit on this one from the family. They are all unscathed. But it is a sort of a messy situation. They got to get out of there because the police are on their way. That many people died, dead. They got to go. They start heading out, but the cops are right there. V tells them to all put the guns in her purse. She's, I guess, smarter. She's going to think of something. She figures out a way to, like, I'm the less likely of all of you to sort of be the one that they actively search. So, puts the guns in her purse, and then they start to walk off, but the police catch them, and they're all hemmed up by the cops. Franklin and Uso are on the run, and while they're there waiting for that, he overhears on the phone all the gunshots happening. He's like, crap, they're coming after the family. They're hit too. And then they get off the phone and they start to leave, because Uso sees that they're starting to be noticed, and they got the bags, and so a group of folks come up to them and start threatening them, like, hey, what's in the bag? And it doesn't go well. Franklin pulls out his gun and gets rid of most of them except for one guy. He's like, no, I don't buy that, because you would have popped off something like that. Like, he knows that money is worth more than running away. Like, I'm going to stay here and figure out what's in that bag. And they know that it's money now. And then Uso and Franklin start booking it. They're running. And they get chased down to a point where they find a little cubby hole that they hide in with the money hid in there, and they wait it out. These guys don't see them get in there. They skip out, and so Franklin and Uso are under that cubby for quite some time before they actually kind of get out to go find out what to do next. While all of that is going on, Teddy is going in and out of consciousness, driving away. He's in a very bad way. He goes to the back. He stops the car, goes to the back of the car, and like opens up the cocaine to put some on him in the wound and to take a hit, just to try to keep him up. It's a way to keep him active and his brain active and just keep going, because otherwise he would have passed out and then thus died somewhere. He makes it to one of his old informants' place. Parissa is her name, and it's just like laying bleeding out on her kitchen. But she is a former nurse, from what I get, or a former doctor in some form. And so that's why he went there. And she's like, what are you doing here? I know this is going to be trouble. but she sort of has this loving, weird, playful thing with him that she gets him patched up and starts working on him and all this. But there's some weird stuff and weird relationship going on between the two of them because she gets off on this and has a weird sexual experience that happens in the middle of this. I'm like, I don't know what the hell. Like, there's a lot happening in this episode. Um, and I'm not quite sure if I was like, is this happening in his head or is she actually doing this? Or like, what is going on? That's what's happening with Teddy. We go back to Franklin and Uso. They finally decide to leave the cubby. They take off, but they leave the money behind, which is probably a smarter thing because they don't know who's all following them, who's still out, and it's better if they get caught that the money is still safe. Although they don't really close the door as to what they come out of, it's still kind of pried open. And if I'm those folks, those kids, I'm going to retrace my steps at some point in time. I'm going to realize that those bags are in there or something that you guys might have stated, and I'll find that. I don't think that money's going to be back there when they go back. They're bringing someone home who who happens. This is crazy. This is what I'm saying. This show just keeps going, gets nuttier and nuttier. Who happens to be a taxidermist? For those who don't know, taxidermists are people who are like hunters or whatnot, but then they stuff those animals for show. So there's like a huge bear stuffed, and there's a huge alligator stuffed, and they're like looking around and thinking, like, what the hell is this place? They finally find a phone. They're about to make a call, and then they get shot with tranquilizers by the person who is still home and is a taxidermist because the phone line's dead, and they know where they would reach out to anybody. Taxidermist ends up putting them in cells next to a tiger, and that's how part one of the Iliad ends. What the hell? It's an intense episode, but it is an episode that is so unlike anything else that we've ever had with Snowfall. I'm not saying that's good or bad. It is just very different. The energy feels different. The style of the show feels different. It's very much like Warriors. If anybody's never seen Warriors, you should treat yourself. But it's about from getting from one point of the town to the other point of the town safely, while all of these gangs are trying to stop you. That is what this is. Meanwhile, other families are getting, other parts of the family are being hit. Also, alliteration to the Iliad. The biggest question in all of this is who is responsible for this massive attempt on the Franklin Empire and Franklin's life. A lot of options. Peaches seems to be the red herring that they keep trying to point everybody to because this is the first time that he's not at the meet. But everyone, frankly, keeps saying he's sick. Jerome says he's sick. And I think this is the first episode that actively mentions via Parisa that I have to be careful when I'm dealing with you with blood because HIV is starting to run rampant. I think we're now putting all the chips on the table and we're now saying that Peaches has HIV and he wouldn't be responsible for this. He's just not the makeup of this. So then you have to ask who knows all of the other spots that Franklin has, who knows the drops, who knows that they were meeting, who knows this. First thought comes to Louis and Jerome's police officer who sort of has helped him out of jams, who helps him out of this jam. That is where my first brain goes to, but I don't know how much of this he knows. I know he knows Louis' half of this, but he doesn't know so much about Franklin. Like the drop, I don't know if he would necessarily know that. So that's why I'm like, I don't quite know if he would have enough information to pull all this off. Leon also gets hit. Leon goes out to Abby to pick up the guns, and then another shootout happens. And they have a back and forth with Abby. One of Abby's folks gets hit. Leon manages to kill one of the folks in the car. He falls out. They take the mask off, but they don't recognize him. They've never seen him. He's not a part of any gang that they know of. And so there's an all-out assault on them as a whole. And so we still don't really know who is the person or people responsible for this. It could be somebody a part of Franklin's past, but even if it's somebody a part of Franklin's past, they don't know all the ins and outs of this unless there's a bug somewhere in this and one of their cars is bugged and whatnot. The most likeliest thing, and I would hate to do this because Franklin has had a very bad track record with women, but the most likeliest of this is that V is very, 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 very deep undercover. She knows the ins and outs. She could take all of this out like that. And the only reason why I could just be fishing, I could be wrong, but Franklin has a bad track record with figuring out or going with women. But V is the only one who knows all the ins and outs. And the fact that no one in the family actually got hit at the restaurant shooting gives me sort of a pause and a red flag. That none of the family, because that means that they would have to aim and hit a little closer to V and not around, and they basically hit everything else around and not anybody in that actual vicinity. Now, granted, Jerome was a little further off, but I think they would have been fine if you took off him. They, in that spot where V was, no one got hurt, and that kind of sticks out to me. I could be fishing, but she's the only one who knows the ins and outs of everything that's happening in Franklin's business. I think with Melody gone and Melody's father gone, I think there are enough people who have enough stake to make Franklin pay. I think there are a lot of people like that exist. And so I know a lot of people have not had much faith in V, because she sort of came out of nowhere. Like, she explained where she came from, but we didn't actually see it. We didn't see them come in. It feels like she's a placement now. And all signs point Franklin's not going to see it because he's in love. He's got a baby. He's got legitimacy stuff happening. But I think that is the only person who is in this that is not an original part of this that would cause this to sort of all start caving in. Who are your thoughts? Who do you think is responsible for this? Because I'm outside of V. I'm kind of at a loss. I don't see anybody else who has as much information on the day to day be able to take this apart from the inside. What do you guys think? Who do you think's responsible? You can leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. A good episode. I think it'll be better once you see both parts, because I think it kind of ends on like a comedy beat joke. We're like, oh, we're in the prison with a tiger. Now, granted, it's still dangerous, but the tone feels different from the other three tones that we get in this thing. We got a psychological thriller that's happening between Parisa and Teddy, and like, I don't know what freaky deaky shit she's into. You got the Warriors aspect of Franklin and Uso trying to be on the run. You got the beginning, which feels like Snowfall, and kind of like that drama of leading up to like people putting their chips on the table. And you got this name with them out of the tiger, and it just ends. So I think when it all comes together, it'll be a better story. So right now, I'm leaving a bit of my approval or disapproval of this episode until we get part two. But I dug it. The energy was up. I just don't know where we're going, and I think the whodunit of who actually is responsible for this is going to be what the bigger payoff is. I think that's where, when you stick that landing, is when we'll know how well we feel about all of this. And I feel like poor Franklin is about to get his heart destroyed. Go ahead and leave your comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.